I've been there spending a few dollars on a cheap FPV rig that promised cinematic footage, only to end up with shaky clips, a drone that wobbles on the slightest gust, and a battery that dies before you finish your first take. The disappointment is almost instant, and the regret lingers long after you've packed the busted unit back in the box. That's why, before I even lifted the Avata out of its foam packaging, I dug into the community forums, watched a handful of real-world flight tests, and tried to map the hype to what actually matters when you're looking for a new FPV camera drone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The DJI Avata 2 Fly More combo lands somewhere between a hobbyist's just for fun flyer and a creator's I need reliable footage tool. It isn't a toy you toss around the backyard, but it also isn't the heavyweight cinema drone you'd rig to a crane. The sweet spot is the moment you want the thrill of first-person view without the nightmare of building a custom rig from scratch. First off, the flight experience feels genuinely immersive. The built-in visual feedback through the goggles is crisp, and the motion control stick layout is intuitive enough that, after a brief 10-minute warm-up, you're not fighting the controller to make a basic turn. The easy acrobatics claim holds up when you try a simple flip. The drone responds predictably, and the built-in propeller guard adds a layer of confidence you won't be constantly worrying about hitting a low branch or a wall during a rehearsal. That said, the Avata's learning curve isn't invisible. The menu system, while cleaner than older DJI models, still throws a few extra steps at you when you try to switch video modes or adjust the exposure. In my first flight, I spent about 5 minutes navigating the overlay to lock the ISO for a low-light scene, and the screen briefly froze while the drone recalibrated. It's not a deal-breaker, but if you're hoping for a point-and-shoot experience straight out of the box, be prepared for a short adjustment period. Stabilization is where DJI really shines. The 4K footage, captured through a super-wide 155-degree field of view, stays buttery smooth even when you're weaving through a forest trail or chasing a moving subject on a skate park. The gimbal works hard to keep the horizon level, and I found that the autofocus holds its own in bright daylight and in the dim glow of a sunset. In low-light tests, think a dusk bike ride, the camera did introduce a bit of noise, but the footage remained usable after a quick lift grade in post. If you need rock-solid stabilization for action shots, the Avata delivers without the jitter that plagues many entry-level FPV units. Battery confidence is another practical consideration. The Fly More combo includes 3 intelligent batteries, and each one provides roughly 18 minutes of flight time in moderate wind conditions. That's generous compared to most handheld FPV drones that cap out at 810 minutes. The Railwin is the quick swap design. You can drop a depleted pack and snap a fresh one in under 10 seconds, which keeps you moving during a shoot day. The downside? Those batteries are relatively heavy, and the added weight slightly trims the top speed you'd expect from a 3-inch prop setup. If you're chasing ultra-fast racing lines, you'll feel that trade-off. Who should actually consider buying the Avata? If you're a content creator who already has a decent goggle setup, or you're willing to invest in the recommended DJI goggles and you need a portable, reliable way to get immersive footage for travel vlogs, adventure sports, or even small-scale cinematic projects, this combo is a solid match. The built-in propeller guard means you can practice in tighter spaces without constant fear of damage, and the 3-battery bundle extends shooting windows long enough to capture a full sequence without hunting for a charger. On the other side of the fence, if you're purely a racing enthusiast looking for the highest possible thrust-to-weight ratio, or if you're a casual hobbyist who only wants a drone to fly around a backyard and capture a few Instagram clips, you might be better off with a dedicated racing drone or a cheaper FPV starter kit. The Avata's 4K camera and stabilization are overkill for simple hobby flights, and the price point reflects the professional-grade features you may never fully use. Practical strengths that stood out during my testing include the durability of the propeller guard, the consistency of the gimbal when you're executing aggressive maneuvers, and the convenience of the 3-battery package. The guard is a quiet, unobtrusive ring that actually absorbs minor impacts without rattling, which is a relief when you're practicing flips close to trees. The gimbal's ability to keep the horizon level while you tilt the drone at extreme angles means you spend less time in post-production fixing a wonky horizon. And the extra batteries translate directly into more footage per outing, which is a tangible productivity boost for anyone shooting on a schedule. Weaknesses are subtler but worth mentioning. The low light performance, while decent, still